Hi, I'm Matt Moore, and welcome to Deer Farming TV. It's Fawn Care 101. Let's get started. We were asked to do this fawn care video, and it's basically for our new breeders, the new breeders who are getting into our industry. So if you're an established farm, most of this information that you'll see is common knowledge to you. A lot of it's just second nature to you, but I guarantee you it'll be a quick and a good review for the established farms, because what I got to do, I got to spend a couple days over at High Roller, and High Roller, they're on schedule to have over 600 fawns born this season. So when you're handling that many fawns, I guarantee you we'll all learn something. Let's check in with Jimmy Neely.
Well, the first thing we do when we pull up to the gate is we check right behind the gate, since our gates are all covered in plastic, to make sure there's not a fawn laying right behind it. And that way, when we do open the gate and we pull through it, we're not running over the fawn with the gate or the mule. And then we pull in the pen, and first of all, we're paying attention to the does and seeing how they're acting, making sure there's no commotion going on anywhere around us that it's going to get us in a bind and run one into the fence, or something in the pen that shouldn't be in the pen that's got them scared. And 9 times out of 10, if there's new fawns in the pen, the does are going to be a little more on edge and everybody's on high alert. And that's kind of the first sign that I look for when I pull into the pen. Then after I see the does are on high alert, then I really start scanning the ground, looking for ears and nose, a fawn trying to stumble around and get around. Or sometimes if they're born, right after dark last night, they're already up and running to where you can see them pretty easy. And as I go through the pen trying to find the fawns that were just born, paying attention to the fawns that was born in the days before, and checking their nose and their eyes, making sure their eyes are bright and clear and their nose is good and wet, and basically making sure Mama's doing a good job of taking care of them. If we run across one that isn't in the best of health, whether it's dehydrated looking or has the scours, if a fawn's within a couple of days old, we'll pull it and bottle feed it, or do what we can to help Mama out, whether the fawn needs a little bit of antibiotics or what's going on. But 9 times out of 10, if there's something going on with the fawn, we just bring it to the barn and bottle feed it. When we first get to the fawn, we pay attention to Mom, because most of the time she's not going to be that far away, and make sure we're not running her into the fence, because we need Mom to take care of the fawn at least for the first 48 hours, 24 hours, if it's going to be a bottle fed fawn. And we match up the doe to the fawn and kind of pair them up that way, and then see what they're bred to. And as we walk up to the fawn, we just pick up the fawn and make sure there's no abnormalities with it. And if it's an older fawn, we try to see if it has something in its belly, and if it's already sucked and already has some colostrum. And then first thing we do is we pick up its tail and we check for sex and see if it's a buck or a doe. And our tagging system is blue tags for buck and pink tags for does. And then we pull hair for DNA sample, and the only things we give the fawn is we tattoo its ear for the state with a unique number, and we give it 2/10 of Bosi for selenium, since our soil is deficient in it, and equalizer paste, that's just an oral paste that we give the fawn, and we also give it a probiotic fawn paste, and give them each fawn a half a tube of each, and then come back the next day or that evening and make sure the fawn is sucked by then, and make sure it has a good belly on it, and just if it's a deer that is extremely valuable, or somebody else has bought into or something, then we pull it and bottle feed it if they want. Or if it's something that we want bottle fed, then we'll pull it at anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. And a lot of times, like when we have trips, instead of pulling the biggest fawn or the littlest fawn like most people would with cows or sheep, we try to leave the littler fawns on them because mom's going to do a better job at raising them than we are. And we bottle feed the bigger fawn and leave the littler one on mom.
If you're a new farm and just getting started, there's a couple different tools that you're going to need. First of all, your state might require you to tattoo the ears. And you have to get a tattoo kit, and it's pretty simple. You have to look into getting what kind of ink that you want. Ink comes in basically two different forms. There's a gel that comes into a tube, and there's the roll-on ink. The roll-on ink is a lot simpler and a little less messier than the gel. You'll also have to have the tags for the fawns, and tags come in 3 separate sizes. There are small, medium, and large size. No matter what brand tag that you buy, make sure that you buy the ear tag gun for that specific brand, because they're not interchangeable. You can cause damage to a fawn's ear if you try to mix brands with tag and gun. And also, one thing to keep in mind, if you're going to use these smaller tags to tag the fawns, be sure that you have a working facility, because these fawns, they're going to grow faster than what you think. So you may want to get the next size up or get the larger size, because what you don't want to do, you don't want to have to dart a fawn to put a fawn down just to change the tag. You may want to start out with that larger size.
For new breeders, it's always a learning process. I've been here going on 5 years, and I learn something every day. So any question is a good question. I still bug all kinds of vets, and James, anybody else that I can ask a question to, I'll ask them, just because they're constantly changing, constantly new developments coming out. So any question is a good one, and it's such a friendly industry that everybody is willing to help. Some problems that we have here might not necessarily happen in South Texas, or might not necessarily happen in North Texas. But we found out that what works for our fawn process and how we handle newborn fawns works for us, and it might not necessarily work for everybody else. But don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to develop a really good relationship with anybody you purchase deer from, whether it's High Roller or any other organization. And any organization in the deer business is gonna stand behind you and help support you all the way through. Not just your first year, your second year, but 5 years down the road. That's just the way the deer business is, and everybody's always learning, everybody's always studying, and it's a constantly growing industry.